Have you ever just looked at some leaders or some companies and wondered, how do they do it, They achieve these incredible things that seem to defy all the odds, while other, seemingly similar companies just don't. Well, it's a puzzle, and we're going to dive right into it. What about someone like Martin Luther King Jr.? He wasn't the only person who suffered in pre-civil rights America, and he definitely wasn't the only great speaker at the time. So why him? Why did he become the face of a movement? Or the Wright brothers? Why were they the ones to figure out powered flight? There were other teams out there that were, frankly, way better qualified and had a ton more money. Yet these two bicycle mechanics from Ohio beat them all to it. There's got to be something else going on here. And it turns out there is. There's a pattern. All of these great, inspiring leaders and organizations, they all think, they act, and they communicate in the exact same way. And what's wild is that it's the complete opposite of how everyone else does it.
In this pattern, it can be broken down into a really simple idea. It's called the golden circle. And this little diagram, this is the key. This explains why some people can inspire us and others just can't.
Okay, so here's how it works. Every single company, every person on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some of them know how they do it, their special process or their unique selling proposition. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And when I say why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's just a result. Your why is your purpose, your cause, your core belief. Why does your company even exist? So here's the kicker. Most of us, in our lives and in our businesses, we communicate from the outside in. We go from the clearest thing, our product, to the fuzziest thing, our purpose. We start with what? But the inspired leaders, every single one of them, no matter their size or industry, they think, act, and communicate from the inside out. They start with why. So let's play this out. If Apple was like everyone else, their marketing would start with their what. It sounds something like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one?
Meh.
Doesn't really grab you, does it? But here's how Apple actually communicates. They start with their why. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. Their how is that the way they challenge the status quo is by making their products beautifully designed and simple to use. And the result, their what, is that they just happen to make great computers. See the difference? It's so much more compelling. You feel like you're buying into a belief, not just a product. And this brings us right to the heart of the whole idea. This is the single most important lesson. People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. The goal isn't just to sell to people who need what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Now, here's the coolest part. This isn't just my opinion or some clever marketing theory. This whole thing is grounded in biology. The way the golden circle works maps perfectly to how our actual brains are built. So if you look at a cross-section of the human brain, from the top down, you'll see it's broken into a few key components that line up perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, the neocortex, corresponds to the what level. This is the rational, analytical part of our brain. It's responsible for language. But the middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and that's where our how and why live. This part of the brain is responsible for all our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making. And get this, the limbic brain has no capacity for language. That's where gut feelings come from. It's why you can be presented with all the facts and figures, and you'll say, I know what all the data says, but it just doesn't feel right. That's your limbic brain talking. So when you communicate from the outside in, people can understand features and benefits, but it doesn't drive behavior. When you start with why, you're talking directly to the part of the brain that makes decisions. All right, so let's look at this in practice. Let's pit a why-driven team against a resource-driven team and see what happens. There's no better example than the race for powered flight. So back in the early 20th century, a guy named Samuel Pierpont Langley had what you might call the perfect recipe for success. He got a $50,000 grant from the War Department. He hired a dream team of the best minds money could buy. The New York Times followed him everywhere. He had all the ingredients. Then, a few hundred miles away in Dayton, Ohio, you had Orville and Wilbur Wright. They had zero of those things. Their funding came from the profits of their bicycle shop, and not a single person on their team had a college education. So what was the big difference? The Wright brothers were driven by a cause, a purpose, a belief. They believed that if they could figure this flying machine out, it would change the course of the world. Langley, on the other hand, wanted to be rich and famous. He was chasing the result. So the Wrights team worked with blood, sweat, and tears because they believed in the cause. Langley's team just worked for a paycheck. And the story tells it all. The day the Wright brothers took flight, Langley quit. He wasn't first, so he lost interest. So this principle of starting with why, it doesn't just build loyalty and inspire your team. It's also the absolute key to how new ideas spread and actually reach mass market success. And this isn't just a random thought. It's explained by something called the law of diffusion of innovation. It basically shows us how new ideas get adopted by people over time. The first 2.5% of our population are our innovators. The next 13.5% are our early adopters. Then you get the early majority, late majority, and finally the laggards. Now, the tipping point for mass market success is somewhere around 15 to 18% market penetration. And to get there, you have to win over those innovators and early adopters. These are the people who are comfortable making those gut decisions. They're driven by what they believe about the world, not just what product is available. They're the ones who will buy something first, simply because they believe in your why. Take TiVo. Remember them? From a business standpoint, they should have been a massive success. They had a groundbreaking product, tons of funding, everything was perfect. But they're basically a commercial failure. Why? Because their message was all what? We have a product that pauses live TV and skips commercials. It's just a list of features. But imagine if they had started with why. Something like, if you're the kind of person who likes to have total control over every aspect of your life, boy, do we have a product for you. That's a belief. That's a why. And that's what those early adopters buy into. In the summer of 1963, 250,000 people showed up on the Mall in Washington to hear Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. speak. There were no invitations sent out, there was no website to check the date, so how on earth do you get that many people to show up? Well, Dr. King didn't go around telling people what needed to change about America. He went around and told people what he believed. And he gave the I have a dream speech, not the I have a plan speech. People who believed what he believed took his cause and they made it their own. And they showed up that day not for him, but for themselves. It was their belief he was articulating. And ultimately, that's the real difference between a leader and someone who leads. Leaders just hold a position of power or authority. But those who lead, they inspire us. We follow them not because we have to, but because we want to. We follow not for them, but for ourselves. It's about our own beliefs. So in the end, it's the ones who start with why that have the incredible ability to inspire the people around them. They find others who believe what they believe, and together they can do some truly remarkable things. Which really just leaves one last question. What's yours?